Oh, I don't pay for suits. My suits are on the house, or the house burns down.
Welcome back to the Red Right Hand Podcast, where each week we break down an episode of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders. I'm Curtis.
And I'm Josh.
And today, we're not covering an episode. We are doing Tiny-sode, Minisode, whatever you want to call it. I'm calling it Minisode, number 2.
Dose.
Dose a Minisode. I actually had 2 ideas for this Minisode. One of them was... Actually, I had this idea back when we first started this series. I was wanting to actually talk about some of the battles in World War One that some of the brothers and different characters that were in the show got involved in, like the Somme, Battle of the Bulge, different stuff like that. But I felt like, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was time to do that, I guess. And then I had this other idea that I felt like was more appropriate because it kind of pertained more to this season. So I thought we'd actually go through the history of the IRA, or the Irish Republican Army, because they were actually in this series a lot. They were kind of a foundation to the series, I guess you could say. Would be a good way to describe it.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a big piece of it. What's almost like annoying is how big of a part they play in this season, but they don't get pushed to the forefront nearly as much as they do in the first season, I feel like.
No, I mean, they're kind of in the background, but not like, I don't know, not like up close background, I guess, like in the near, I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to say it.
It's just like, it's most of the stuff that Tommy's dealing with, or at least like half of it, is the Irish business, you know?
In the first season or second season?
Second season.
Oh, yeah. And I think that was the thing about it, like, the first season kind of introduces you to what they were going to bring in the second season.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they kind of brought the whole IRA thing into the first season, but not too much to where it's, you know, it's a big point in the series, or in the season, I mean. But it's setting you up, like I said, for season 2 to be a bigger element.
Yeah.
To the season. So I just felt like, you know, this is kind of the right time to do it, because if I remember correctly, they're still a staple in the rest of the series, but not as much especially in later seasons. I'm pretty sure they kind of fade off into the background a lot as the seasons go on, right?
Yeah, I feel like
they're in the next season. I remember that.
Yeah, there's like a little interaction in the next season, but after that, it feels like it kind of falls off. And you might be able to tell me because you probably got a lot more of like the dates and stuff over there, but that might just be when it just starts to get a little bit more boring over there. I don't know if you want to say boring, but when things start to calm down a little bit.
We'll get to it. I mean, it makes sense that going into the 30s, that's when it started kind of cooling down a little bit before it picks back up later, going into like the late 50s, early 60s and such.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. So, like I said, I felt like this was a good time to do history of the IRA. But I'm going to send it out to you guys at home. If you have any ideas for any future minisodes, you got to send us a tweet at Red Right Hand PO1. That's Red Right Hand PO1. Just send it to us, a tweet, maybe some ideas of what you want to hear about in some of the next few minisodes. And maybe, just maybe, if they're good ideas, we'll consider it.
Yeah.
Not saying we're going to do it, but we'll consider it.
Because we love to talk about the show, like anything surrounding the show. But I think part of the reason, too, that we're both so drawn to this show is because we're both, you know, so into history.
Right, yeah.
So, you know, and that's, you know, it's a major part of the show.
Well, we just got done talking about movies and TV shows being realistic. Now is a little bit different subject that we were talking about, but I mean, I feel like this is kind of the same thing of like
Talking Game of Thrones.
yeah. So it's like we want something that's like real life. I mean, not Game of Thrones isn't real life, but
It's like situations.
It's
you know? Like
situations,
the
yeah.
fact that like the good guy doesn't always come out on top, and that's just like real. Like it's a dark thought, but it's real.
right. Which I mean, at the end of both seasons here in Peaky Blinders, Tommy comes out on top. Now, there are times in these 2 seasons and beyond where it looks like they're not going to make it out. It feels like, well, I mean, in the last episode of season 2, I mean, Tommy was done. He was, okay, I'm accepting my death. I'm going to get in this, I guess I'm just going to fall over into this grave after they shoot me and it'll be over with,
Yeah.
So...
Well, what is it? I mean, there's definitely a couple seasons, or at least one season that I know of, where they leave you thinking, oh, well, this is all over. Like, there's no, like, tidy wrap up at the end, the very end of the episode.
Yeah.
Like, no, they just leave it like that.
Yeah, this is that last season. Season 5 or whatever.
Was it season 5 or was it season 4?
No, season 5. That's the one. That's the last one that's come out.
Yeah, but remember 4 ends with...
No spoilers.
You know.
But people may not have watched the show.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I'm just hoping here that they're really like following us episode by episode. They're probably not, but because we're a little bit late to the game here with this podcast.
You should follow it episode by episode.
You should follow it episode by episode,
You don't want to just listen to season 1, episode 3, and then...
No, but I'm saying, like, people have already probably watched the whole series. They're probably already know what's going on.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, hopefully people aren't watching it the first time through episode by episode with us.
Because if you are, what is wrong with you?
Kudos to you, but how do you have the discipline to only watch 1 episode a week?
When you could watch every episode that's available to
Hey,
you.
Ben Jamal.
And especially in a world of binge watching on the weekends. Anyway...
Tell me about the IRA.
Yeah, back to the Minisode here, man. So, before we can actually start getting into the actual history of the IRA, the Irish Republican Army, I want to take you back on a journey.
Okay.
Get in my time machine here.
All right. Scoot over.
If we need to put some sound effects, we can, whatever.
I'm not
we're actually going to go. What?
I'm not putting shit in there.
Fine, I'll do it, man. No, we're actually going to go back to 1169 AD.
1169.
I was wondering what that noise was over there. Yeah, 1169 AD. This is what is known as the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland.
Okay.
Do you know anything about that? I actually meant to step back before we start getting into this. Do you know anything about like Irish history at all?
A little bit. Probably not as much as I should for our heritage, but...
Well, I was thinking about it, it's like I don't remember like thinking in school. They didn't say anything in it. Of course, we're Americans. We just think about America.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah. No, I feel like they don't really... I mean, that wasn't anything that I ever learned about in school.
I don't remember, like...
What year did you say it was?
Oh, the invasion?
Yeah.
1169 AD.
1169. Okay.
But I don't remember it all. I mean, I don't remember them talking anything Ireland.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Not even, like... Because I was thinking, like, I haven't even heard... I didn't even hear the term IRA until well out of high school.
Okay.
So, and again, like I said, it's like, I'm not sitting here thinking, why didn't they teach us that? Because, I mean...
yeah, it's almost obscure.
It's whatever. I mean, even if you're taking world history,
yeah.
they're really hitting on the same old points as always,
Yeah.
Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue, different stuff like that. So anyway, 1169 AD, Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland. This is actually very significant in Ireland's history because it's going to eventually lead to an 800-year reign of England over Ireland.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so what it was is this guy named Dermot, and I'm going to screw his name up. There's a bunch of names I'm probably going to screw up, so to all you Irish people, I'm sorry. This guy named Dermot MacMurrough, maybe? I don't know.
Spell it.
Huh?
Spell it.
Last name?
Yeah.
MacMurragh.
AGH?
Yeah, no Y. I was going to say Y.
Yeah, McMurrough.
McMurrough? Dermot MacMurrough. Anyway, he was king of Leinster. Now, do you even know what that is, King Leinster?
No.
Okay, so back around that time, Ireland was a bunch of, it was like divided up into like a bunch of different small kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
And there were kings in each of these kingdoms. And then there was a high king that ruled all over all of these kings. So basically, I kind of like look at it like state governors and then the president of the United States.
Okay.
Now, maybe not in terms of like, oh, he rules over them, but like, I just kind of think of it like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think like, especially for like that time, a good comparison would be like earls or jarls, you know, like
yeah, that's a good, yeah.
Like Sweden or Denmark or Norway, and then they all, there was like a king of, like Norway or
right. So anyway,
how many different? Do you know how many different
kingdoms?
Yeah,
Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm counting 9 on this map.
Okay.
Do not ask me to pronounce them because I'm gonna butcher them. And anyway, Dermot somehow lost his seat on the throne, and so he hired some mercenaries, some Norman mercenaries, to help proclaim his kingdom. And fun fact, this campaign was actually sanctioned by King Henry II of England.
Oh.
Yes. And in the end, it was a successful campaign. Now, Dermot had sworn his allegiance to England, and in return for their help, he promised land to them. So as the campaign became successful, these Normans started owning land there. And then next thing you know, they're starting to kind of spread out more into these other kingdoms too. So the takeover is slowly starting to happen. Eventually, though, excuse me, King Henry II is going to come over with his own army and assert control over the Irish and the Anglo-Normans. And this move was actually supported by the Roman Catholic Church as a way to ensure religious reform in Ireland. Now, that is going to be important to us way later on, the whole religious reform.
Yes, but it's because like at this time, it was all pagan, right?
Right, yeah, like you said, it was a pagan belief system over there in Ireland. So after that, there's just a bunch of kind of back and forth battles occurring over a good amount of time. And then we come to the Treaty of Windsor, which was agreed upon between King Henry II and High King, again, I'm going to butcher his name, I'm sure, Ruadri? Ruiadri?
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Anyway, so there's this treaty between them. And like I said earlier, High King is going to reign over all the kingdoms in Ireland. You with me?
Yes.
Okay. So they had this treaty between them, but it soon fell apart when neither king could keep control of their appointed king/rulers. And so after more fighting, back and forth, In 1177, Henry II claimed his son King/Lord of Ireland, marking a change for the future on how England viewed Ireland. So basically, they've said, okay, we are now taking over.
Yeah.
My son is going to be taking charge, and then he's going to be passing it on through his family and so on and so forth. So that's the, excuse me, the Anglo-Norman invasion of Ireland, 1169 AD. Skip further ahead in my time machine here to 1798.
That's quite a bit ahead.
Yeah. The United Irishman Rebellion. Now, there are some things that happen here and there between these two events. I just didn't feel like they were as important.
Of course, I hope some things happen. That was like 600 years of
Right.
shit.
600 years passed by and nothing happened. It was silent, nothing. Everybody lived peacefully.
Okay.
And this is one day they woke up.
Like now this is Henry's great grandson.
Exactly. Yes. Well, now we're getting towards I thought there was some I don't know. Anyway, United Irishman Rebellion, 1798. This was a rebellion led by the Society of United Irishmen. What? Really? The United Irishmen? Never would have thought that. Against British rule. This rebellion was actually heavily influenced by a couple of revolutions that just recently happened.
Which ones?
Actually, one of them was still occurring towards the end of it. Can you guess which ones?
What year was it? So I'm making an ass out of myself.
1798.
1798. Oh.
Are you serious?
1798?
1798. The year of our Lord.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are you serious? The French Revolution.
Oh, the French Revolution. Okay.
Yeah, which was from 1789 to 1799. So it was right on the tail end of it.
Okay.
And then the other one, the American Revolution, which was 1765 to 1783.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm not saying like the Revolutionary War.
That's where I was at for a second. I was
No.
what?
No. Yeah, this is bigger than just the war.
Yeah, I got you.
Anyway, so the Society of United Irishmen were heavily influenced by these revolutions. Now, the Uprising was a quick one, and it failed epically.
Were they just like inspired?
Yes, they were inspired by
Okay,
that.
I didn't know if there was any kind of like financial backing or something that like happened.
There may have been. There may have been. Not that I had read, but it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
It always seems like there's some backers behind these different things like that, these revolutions and such.
Yeah.
But it makes me think of, we kind of see it now in these different countries where, protesting and people kind of standing up for one thing, and the next thing you know, they're kind of doing the same thing over in another country because they're influenced by this other protest that was going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
just something that always happens through history. Everybody's, inspired by somebody else, it seems like.
Yeah.
So anyway, like I said, it failed epically. and as a result...
That's too bad.
Huh?
I said that's too bad.
Yeah. As a result, the Irish Parliament was abolished. This Irish Parliament had been around since about the 13th century. So it's no more. It's no longer. And this is sending Ireland even further under control to England.
Yeah.
So it's just like I was thinking this whole time reading all this history, and I described this in another episode. It's like a snowball going down a hill, man. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and worse.
Yeah.
And they just keep failing at these rebellions and pushing themselves further into slavery, basically. So anyway, those two events are in the past. Now we're going, good God, even further into the future, all the way up to 1916.
1916?
1916.
Okay.
Now we're getting to the bread and butter here. This is the birth of the IRA.
Okay, and I feel like that's important that you make the distinction that it is not It's not like how the show portrays it.
How does the show portray it?
I mean, the show's portraying it in. Oh no. Okay, you said 1916. I had the wrong year in my head.
What year did you have?
1816.
What?
Yeah, and I don't know why.
Huh?
For like a brief second, I was like,
Okay,
no, I mean, the show
no.
takes place in 1816.
No, 1916.
Yep, I realized that.
No, 1916, World War One.
Continue on, sir.
Anyway, 1916, Easter Rising. So let me paint a picture for you. April 24th, 1916. It's a quiet morning. But yet, an uprising to establish a Republic of Ireland by Irish nationalists begins. Now, this uprising was not initially supported by the majority of the Irish population. But I'll get to that but here in just a second, actually. This uprising was actually supposed to happen across the country. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like you're planning it, you're trying to get the word of mouth spreading around, like, okay, we're going to strike at this time, whatever. Didn't really work out that way, and it was more centralized in one place, Dublin. So not as big as they were hoping it to be, So on the morning of April 24th, 1916, the rebels seized many strategic locations, including a post office. Now think of all the pieces of mail being held hostage. It blows my mind.
That's it doesn't sound super vital.
No, but I mean, think about it. It's a government-run place.
Yeah.
So
I was thinking like maybe an armory somewhere or.
Well, I mean,
a military
post
base.
office is the next best thing, apparently.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, especially in a day and age where that was all your communication.
Yeah.
It's not like it'd be like, oh, you're taking over the post office in 2021.
Yeah, it's true.
How does that affect you?
That would not matter at all today.
So, but yeah, I did think that was kind of weird. It's like, okay, post office, but hey, man, to each your own. Maybe that's why it didn't work out so well, because next thing you know, martial law is declared, and the rebellion was put down pretty quickly by the British government.
Huh.
Now, again, like I was saying, this whole rebellion wasn't as big as the Irish nationalists were hoping it would be. Not a lot of people were interested in it. It seemed like it just didn't really awaken a nation like I feel like they felt it was going to. But then the next thing you know, there's rushed executions, mass arrest, and next thing you know, these rebels are turning into martyrs. And all these people that seemed disinterested in the beginning with this rebellion have all of a sudden woken up and said, oh, wait, this is bad. We should probably do something about that. Now, I don't know if like their train of thought was like, oh, these guys are doing something stupid and yeah, now they're getting arrested for it. Serves them right. They'll be tried and they'll probably just do some prison time. They'll be out, whatever. That's their thing. But then when you get executions by a firing squad for, a little uprising like that, they're probably like, oh, wait a minute, you shouldn't have done that. Why are you killing these people for doing that,
Yeah. I mean, it probably made your average citizen question a lot of things. But it's also that camaraderie, like your countrymen are being killed without, you said there were rush trials.
Right.
These trials were probably a complete sham.
Oh, for sure,
probably
yeah.
just bringing some guys in saying, yeah, you're guilty, and sending them on their way.
Well, especially when you have uprisings like this, how do you really pick out your leader? When it's just kind of mass chaos a lot of times.
Yeah.
How do you say, okay, it's that guy? They're not in uniform.
Yeah.
It's not like you see, general stars on a guy or whatever.
Yeah.
So, I'm with you too on that. I mean, it's really kind of shady.
Mm-hmm.
So, so anyway, like I said, the rebels are turned into martyrs. It kind of stirs this fire up in the hearts of the Irish. And from this uprising, the IRA is born. It's formed from the remnants of the Irish volunteers or nationalists who led the charge at the Easter Rising, and also included new members influenced, like I said, by the martyrs before them. Now, skip ahead a couple of years to 1918. 73 members of the Irish Republican Party, Sinn Féin. Now, I know I got that one right because I heard it spoken by somebody else, and I made sure to keep that one in mind. Anyway, 73 members of this party were elected to British Parliament. But the catch was they refused to sit in London. Instead, they chose to sit in Ireland. So they were basically saying, hey, we want our parliament back.
Okay.
Because again, like we said earlier, back in, 1798, their parliament, which had been around since the 13th century, got abolished. It was basically the Britons saying, okay, you want to do this to us? Okay, we'll just go ahead and take away your toy. You know? So that started the
Can
Irish.
you do that? Can you say we're just not gonna sit in Parliament there? We're gonna
apparently,
sit in Parliament back there.
Apparently they did it. I mean, obviously it ruffled some feathers because the next thing you know, there's the Irish War of Independence a year later. 1919, the Irish War of Independence, or otherwise known as the Anglo-Irish War, broke out. And I guess it was at the forefront of that war, the IRA.
Mm-hmm.
So the IRA, during this war, used guerrilla warfare tactics, which included ambushes and raids and many other forms of guerrilla warfare. Soon, though, 2 years later, if you want to call that soon, the war ended in 1921. This is where season 2 of Peaky Blinders kind of comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Because in 1921, there's a treaty between Ireland and Britain. Now, this treaty, as we know from the show, resulted in the forming of the Free State of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which is under the control of England. Now, this treaty ended up splitting the IRA into two groups. One group, which was led by Michael Collins, excuse me, who led the IRA in the previous war, the Irish War of Independence. His group was pro-treaty. Now, the other guy who led the anti-treaty was Eamon de Valera. And like I said, they opposed it. And I'm wondering if this name was the one you were trying to think of before. They mainly called them anti-treaty IRA, but they also called them irregulars. Does that name sound familiar at all?
Not really.
Okay. Well, you were trying to think of a name several episodes ago, I feel like.
For the pro-treaty or for the...
I think for the anti-treaty. Because I thought we were just calling the pro... I mean, pro-treaty was the only name I've ever heard.
Yeah. I mean, the anti-treaty in my mind was just basically the IRA. Because wasn't the IRA mostly who was behind, like, the anti-treaty?
I would say there was. More people on the anti-treaty than the pro-treaty.
For the IRA?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the anti-treaty.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to.
No, they didn't want to, no. So, like I said, we get this splitting up. And next thing you know, 1922 to 1923, there's civil war between these two groups. And ends up resulting in the pro-treaty group, backed by British government, being victorious.
Yep.
And they end up running the anti-treaty IRA, or the irregulars, into the background, into hiding. They're still there, but they're not there. You know what I'm saying? I would almost kind of think of it as like we're regrouping.
Yeah.
You know? So, kind of looking at now where we're standing, we're left with two Irelands, the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland, which again is still controlled by the British. I want to go back to the irregulars for just a second, the anti-treaty. There is some belief that Marxism was becoming an ideology with especially the new younger members of the anti-treaty IRA. While still some of the traditional Republican ideology was kept by some of the older guys, the ones who were there at the beginning, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here we have that Civil War. It has the two groups already split, the pro-treaty, anti-treaty. Now you look at the anti-treaty, now they're splitting into two groups. It's just getting worse and worse, and it just gets worse and worse from there, it seems like.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like you got this one tree, and now there's becoming all these branches to it that just like they don't agree with each other at all. And I guess that's what happens a lot of times when you have organizations like that. People get their own ideas on how you should run it. You know?
Well, I mean, when you splinter like that, your chance of success goes down a little every time.
Right.
Because, you start fighting amongst yourselves, and then it's pretty much over.
Right. So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, the 30s are pretty quiet for the most part. There's still some activity going on, a few occasional bombings here and there. This next point, though, I found pretty interesting. Some have said that the IRA, much to the government of Ireland's embarrassment, actually made contact with Adolf Hitler about trying to help them remove the British from Ireland during the Second World War. Now,
oh, God.
Ireland stayed neutral in World War II.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a little, this is awkward.
Yeah. So you're saying the IRA reached out to...
Yes, reached out to Adolf Hitler.
Is that, documented, or is that, there's some speculation about that?
Apparently, it's documented because there were people that were executed for it.
Wow.
Yeah. So, now whether he actually, if there's any, actual communication back to him...
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to know a little more about it. I didn't have time to really dig too deep into it. And then there's all these conspiracy stuff about Adolf anyway, so
yeah,
I don't want to go off into some weird tangent. And next thing you know, tell you he's living in Jamaica or something. With, I don't know, what do they say?
I think that's probably impossible.
Elvis Presley and John Denver and different people like that.
They're all way too old to still even be alive.
They have a cure, okay? They found the fountain of youth, maybe.
They found a cure for Nazism?
Well, that too. Yes. Yeah, it's called a gun.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh, man. This just took a different turn.
Anyway, do you want to cut that out or not?
No, we'll leave it.
Okay, we're leaving it. We're doing it live.
It's the truth. It's just, it's a heavy truth.
It's a heavy truth, and some people may not like it, but it won a war.
Because they're probably Nazis.
Right.
The person that doesn't agree with that take is probably a Nazi.
Why does that sound like a Jeff Foxworthy joke? Like a redneck joke?
I hope not.
Whatever.
I hope not.
If you don't like this joke, you're probably a Nazi.
You're probably a Nazi.
Anyway, off the Nazi subject and back onto the IRA. Okay, so going back to what I was talking about earlier when King Henry II brought in his own army into Ireland, and he was backed by Roman Catholic support for religious reform in Ireland. That becomes a big deal now because Britain is basically Protestant. And so with them having control of Northern Ireland, their Protestant influence is heavy up there. Whereas in the Republic of Ireland, they're mainly Catholic. So you've got this big clash now between religions.
Oh, good. Now we're not going to fight over just our political beliefs or, like
Ideology, maybe.
yeah,
or whatever,
ideology. Now we're gonna fight over religion too.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, it's just like more stuff into the melting pot to make things worse. It seems like.
Yeah.
So, like I said, 30s, 40s, 50s, they're pretty quiet. Not a whole lot is going on. Of course, you got World War II, which kind of overshadows it, I guess, for a little bit. But skipping ahead to what I would like to call this next section, the Troubles. Have you heard of the Troubles?
No. What are the Troubles?
So it's a time period.
Is that the early time in America where?
No, we're still in Ireland.
Nope. Okay.
No, we're still in Ireland. So the Troubles it's kind of like a time period, I guess you could call it. I mean, it's from 1968 to 1998.
1968 to 1998?
Yes.
30 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So, excuse me. So at this time, here in the late 50s, early 60s, the IRA are going to turn their attention to Northern Ireland, where a goal of unifying, like I said, Roman Catholics against Protestants was started. Now, like you said, a 30-year conflict is going to occur, and they would name this conflict the Troubles.
Okay.
Interesting name. What do you think about that name?
I like it. I think it's intriguing.
It's mysterious. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
So this movement by the IRA at first was, again, met with a little excitement from the Catholics in Northern Ireland. But it wasn't until the late 1960s when a civil rights movement by Northern Ireland Catholics helped the IRA to jumpstart their goal towards unification. So Catholics in Northern Ireland, for the longest time, they suffered segregation at the hands of British-backed Protestants in Northern Ireland.
What kind of segregation? Segregation
So-
based on religion?
Right. So, well, like voting rights, different stuff like that.
Based on religion?
Jobs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly not race, because
No,
they're all like
Yeah.
white
Yeah,
at this
based,
time.
based off of religion.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, there's voting rights, jobs, different stuff like that. So then there's this pushback to this segregation by Northern Ireland extremists. Excuse me. And this set in motion an escalating violent timeline in Ireland's history.
I'm going to guess there were a lot of pipe bombs.
Wouldn't surprise me. And these extremist violent acts against Catholics was met with little police protection. And guess who these police were? They were basically Protestant police. So, they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So, with little to nothing being done by the police and more violent acts being committed by both sides, the IRA started to form small units to protect their Catholic communities in Northern Ireland. So it's basically, hey, look, if you're not gonna help us, we'll take matters into our own hands. Then we'll become our own police, and you can't blame them for doing that,
No.
So, the violence had become so bad that in 1969 the IRA split into two more groups.
Oh, yeah. That'll make them
Because
stronger.
if it wasn't bad enough, let's
Yeah.
split some more.
That'll make them stronger.
So this time the two groups were split, or excuse me, the one group was split into two. One side was called the officials. The other side was called the provisionals. So the official IRA and the provisional IRA.
Okay.
Now, the officials believed the goal of unification and, freedom from Britain, all that stuff, could be achieved in politics, in Parliament. Basically peacefully on the sidelines, doing their thing in government. Whereas the provisionals, or sometimes called provos. Exactly. So they believed that government was not the way to go, that they just needed to take matters into their own hands and get violent with it. Terrorism was another way, but they believed that was the only way to get rid of British rule once and for all. Now, the provos would continue with their violent acts, and soon they started to spread their actions into England. And then after that, they even spread it into continental Europe. So they're going global.
They just got they got through England and they were just like, let's keep going.
Man.
I'm so pumped from
right. Yep. Let's stay up all night, man.
Wow.
Anyway, so this is gonna bring us to Bloody Sunday. And no, I'm not talking about the U2 song.
Oh, thank God.
We could talk about the U2 song if you want.
Let's not.
You want to play it?
I don't.
We can play it real quick if you want.
Let's not.
So, Bloody Sunday helped gain more support for the efforts against Britain as 13 Catholic protesters, I almost said 13 Catholic Protestants.
13 Catholic Protestants, 13 anomalies.
They don't know what they're doing. No, 13 Catholic protesters.
That's a new faction.
Yes,
yes.
Yeah. Yeah, they're the ones who are on the fence. They
We're
just
both.
Can't decide, man. Best of both worlds, man. 13 Catholic protesters were killed on Bloody Sunday. And like I said, this helped gain more support for the efforts against Britain.
And were they peacefully protesting, or?
As far as I know, I mean, I never really found what is a peaceful protest, though. That's the thing about it.
I mean, peaceful protest is where
I know what a peaceful protest is, but I feel like anymore it's a definition that a lot of people push around. They kind of make it their own. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not trying to get political here.
Yeah, as bare basic, like I feel like as basic as possible. A peaceful protest is a protest where the people who are protesting don't
get violent.
Yeah, well, they don't start any violence. You know, I feel like no matter what in life, if violence is enacted on you, no matter in what situation, like if you react to it, like that's just, you know, like you weren't the violent one in that situation.
But it's hard
like,
not to react to it too.
Yeah, you were just like defending yourself or whatever. So yeah, I feel like if the protesters are not the ones, you know, starting the violence, then I feel like that's a peaceful protest.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to look some more into it.
Right, I'm like, because almost in my head of like, were they quote unquote protesting and they like burned a building down or
accidentally
like set off a bunch of bombs?
I just accidentally threw my lit cigarette over to this wooden building.
This is our protest.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Be definitely something to look into though.
Yeah. Well, and there's
you know what, and there's probably debates on it, I'm sure. So who knows?
Yeah. One side said something, the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
Only those protesters knew the truth.
Yeah.
By 1977, the IRA reorganized itself. So by that time, they kind of...
Rebranding?
Yes.
New Pepsi?
Again. Yeah. Or is it old Pepsi again? Just like, 20 years later or what? I don't know. Anyway.
Diet IRA.
Oh, God. The diet. It's the Diet IRA. It's way better for you. Where was I at anyway? So they reorganized themselves in 1977. By that time, they were starting to kind of lose their strength a little bit. So they kind of felt like, hey, it's time to kind of gather back together, try to strengthen ourselves up again. Now, you were saying something about Americans, and you were also saying something about support. This time, the IRA would receive support from Irish Americans in the form of moolah ka-ching And I like this one because it kind of ties in with Peaky Blinders a little bit. But they received support from Libya in the form of weapons. Does that ring a bell at all?
From the show?
Yeah. Remember first season with the guns?
Oh, they were headed
bound for
Libya.
Libya for their civil war.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just found that kind of interesting. I'm not saying there's any connections at all, but I just found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, probably not because that's so far apart. It was
Right.
like 60 years or something.
Right. Unless they just kind of kept in touch. You know, they were good friends, but like not great friends.
Yeah,
They just kind of hit each other up every once in a while, you know?
at least like for arms dealing. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know, there were those friends that like they only called you when they needed something.
Okay.
So anyway, skip on ahead to 1994 here. We're starting to kind of wrap up. A short 2-year ceasefire was put into play as the IRA agreed to multi-party talks. But the ceasefire would end for a brief moment in February 1996 as bombings took place because the IRA were being excluded from these multi-party talks. Pretty soon, though, another ceasefire was put into place and all parties were given a seat at the table to, talk things out peacefully. I think now we're starting to kind of get into this point where the violence is going down and they're trying to talk their problems out, man. You know,
Okay.
sit on the couch, tell me your problems.
Are they still just fighting with each other?
I think there's a little bit of like fighting with each other all the time and then fighting with, Britain too.
Are they still fighting them in the 90s?
Yes.
Okay. That I did not know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's still a presence. I mean, not what it was, but there's still a presence there.
Yeah.
I even think today there's still, Northern Ireland's still
Yeah.
part of the UK, so there's still presence,
Yeah.
And as long as there's presence, there's always going to be at least one individual who doesn't like that presence,
Yeah.
So, we come to April 1998, and we get what is called the Good Friday Agreement, which is a sign of unification between communities and IRA decommissioning. But like I said, it still remained alive. You're not going to kill that ideology,
Yeah.
that started it from the beginning. But it was agreed upon that Northern Ireland would stay a part of Britain or the UK as long as the population wanted it to be, which is interesting, I guess, because like, what if all of a sudden they just woke up tomorrow and was like, you know what, we don't want to be a part of you anymore? Are they really going to allow that to happen?
Right. Yeah.
Or are we going to have more problems?
Would they take a vote on that? Like, what do they
Well, not
check
even that,
in
but,
like
like,
every year?
I mean, obviously they can there's voting stuff and it's more down to stuff like that. It seems like any more than like violent, like wars, civil wars or anything like that. Look at like Brexit,
Yeah.
they took a vote on that and then they were out. I don't know though, man. I just don't see Britain fully going away. From
They've
their
had a hold on
presence.
it now for like almost 1,000 years.
Right. So why give up now?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Is there any reason for it? Like why they? Is there some like massive commerce that they were like going after? Was it territorial in the beginning? Was there some kind of like trade route that was?
I'm sure all
Like,
of
why
that.
is it so valuable?
I'm sure all of that came into place. At one point or another.
Yeah.
But kind of like what I said at the beginning of our episode, the whole King Henry II coming over was backed by religious support. So that's another thing you can think of too, is like they wanted to spread their religion
Yeah.
to these pagans that didn't know their God, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm sure there's a lot of different things. I'm sure trade routes, I'm sure territory, natural resources, different stuff like that. I mean, why else would somebody go take a land?
Yeah.
You know, that seems to be the only reason.
Those are the only reasons too.
Well, I mean, think about like the Middle East, man.
Yeah.
Oil.
Yeah.
That's the only reason anybody wants to go through that.
Yeah.
Their massive oil reserves. Anyway, so we have this agreement. Things start kind of dying down, and by 2005, the IRA announces that they're leaving their violent acts behind, and
this is the rebranding,
right? Yeah, and so they'd be using peaceful acts in the future. Now, even though they're not in the news like they used to be, we can be sure that, like I said, just like any other ideology that has come and gone before, Nazis, different stuff like that, there's always somebody out there trying to live that lifestyle, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to live that IRA life. So, I mean, it's still out there for sure, I believe.
Was there much news on them past 2005?
The only other thing that I'd seen was there was something in 2015 where I think it had said like a former IRA leader was killed. And I think it ended up being by some people claiming to be IRA. So more like internal affairs, you know, basically.
Yeah.
But other than that, I haven't really seen. I mean, I like to look it up. I mean, I didn't really look too far into that again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I always found it interesting, though, when I typed in IRA into Google, the first thing it wants to set you up for a financial.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, what is IRA? An IRA is an account set up to a financial institution. Yeah, no, that's not what I'm looking for, man.
Yeah.
No. Anyway, so yeah, what did you think about that?
Yeah, that was interesting. I didn't know probably 90% of that.
Okay.
There's like a few things that I knew. There was I hadn't really made the connection to the what were you talking about on the Easter?
What about it?
Like what happened on that one Easter?
Like the Easter Rising?
Yeah, Easter Rising, that was it.
Just like the whole thing?
Yeah, no, I was just talking about how...
Did you fall asleep?
No, that... about how I made the connection to the song that is sang in season 1.
Yeah. What was it?
It's like, oh Father, why are you so sad on this bright Easter morn?
Was that the one that she sang?
No.
Or was it actually playing in the background?
No, that's the one that the guy from the IRA that gets killed sings.
Oh, yeah,
and Thomas
He
Barr.
starts singing and the other guy's like, shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I forgot about that. You know what I thought about today, though, was your favorite version of Danny Boy by Johnny Cash on season 1.
Oh, God.
I don't know why I thought about that, but I just did.
Was that season 1? I thought that was season 2.
No, it was season 1. Yeah,
Nah,
it was season 1.
It's where he kills Eamon Duggan.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Wow, that feels like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, no, that was where he killed Eamon.
Okay, I thought that was season.
I feel like season 1 is mostly just riddled with white stripes and racketeers.
Yeah, and whoever does the theme song, I can't think of their names all of a sudden.
PJ Harvey?
No, not PJ Harvey.
No, it's...
That's the second season.
Nick Cave.
Yeah, Nick Cave and the Bad Bones?
Bad Seeds.
Bad Seeds, there we go. Yeah. Anyway, there was something else I was going to say. I thought it was, I meant to mention this at the beginning of the show. I thought it was a good idea for us to to really get in the mood and the spirit of talking about the IRA and Ireland and its rich history by eating some Chinese takeout.
Yep.
So, I don't know about you, but it got me in the mood big time. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Anything else you'd like to mention in this episode or about this episode?
Nope, I think that's about it.
I think our mini-sode turned into an actual long episode.
Yeah, they're very quickly not becoming tiny sods. The other one was like over an hour also.
No, the first one was like 30 minutes.
Was it?
Yeah, it was short.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this one's like
growing
almost
up,
an
man.
hour.
They're
Yeah.
growing up before our eyes, man. Anyway, so that's going to do it for Minisode. I don't know if you want to call it that Minisode anymore, man. Or a tiny sode. I really don't know what you want to call it. It's a grown sode. I don't know.
It's filler is what it is.
It's a filler. It's basically a
in
filler.
between seasons.
It's to get us by to the next season. So anyway, make sure you give us a like or even a review, and subscribe to our podcast on whichever platform you are listening to. Oh, by the way, we need your help. We need you to spread the word about our podcast. Ain't that right, Josh?
Yep. For $5 a day, you can sponsor this animal.
Oh, God. If you haven't already, are we an animal, really? What kind of animal are you? If you haven't already, go give us a follow on Twitter at RedRightHandPO1. That's at RedRightHandPO1. And hey, while you're at it, while you're on the old Twitter there, why don't you go follow my co-host Josh here at Joshua Lynn Gary. That's at Joshua Lynn Gary. And if you're into Twitch, why don't you go check out his Twitch page too? It's GhostLad676.
Yep, he's all right. Just plug me away. Anything else? Do I have any others?
Let's see here. His social security number is.
Whoa.
Yeah, make sure you do all that, and then make sure you come back for the next episode, because we are diving straight to the deep end, known as Season 3, Episode 1. What do the Peaky Boys have in store for us next? We'll find out next week. Bye.
Bye.